Thanks, Nidhi, for joining and taking time off to discuss the evolving trends of customer experience. How, at the helm of consumer division of Borosil, from a customer expectation and customer experience point of view, how do you think the expectations of the customers in India have evolved? And what are the strategies that you have implemented to meet these changing customer expectations?
Right. So thanks, Mridul. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to discuss a subject very close to my heart, right? Consumers. I think we are consumers and we also love consumers. So, yeah. Well, I think you asked a very pertinent question. Consumer behavior and consumer expectations have never been scarier. I mean, if that's the word I would want to use in a very on a lighter note, of course. But I think post COVID, right, and maybe even the last 5, 7 years, and primarily post COVID, I think customer expectations have changed drastically. So, the quote that we used to say, customer is always right and customer is the king, in passing, it was more like a feel good factor, actually holds very, very true today. I think the customers have become one, very informed, two, very impatient, and three, spoiled for choices completely. So,
Right.
this whole fast era of everything happening very, very quickly. So I think there's this whole feeling of entitlement to say, that, I have bought your product, or, I am your customer. So I expect the best. And I think it's fair on the customer's part. But that's also made life for us at the other end of the business, right? I think difficult as well as exciting. Difficult because you obviously have to keep up with a lot, because obviously you don't want to kind of, in maybe spoil your customer experience, and you have to ensure that a customer stays with you. Exciting in a way that, it gives you so many opportunities to do so much new and to keep evolving and changing. So it kind of it's not static anymore, and you want to keep doing something different, and you're kind of impelled or compelled to do a lot of different things, so the customer kind of stays with you, right? So
Right,
yeah, the
right.
expectations are very drastically changed. What has Borosil done to deal with these expectations? So, when so our online business is not very old. We just like 5 or 6 years into the online business. We've been very strong on retail and B2B for the longest time. And that's what the strength for Borosil has been. But obviously, as I said, customers have changed, expectations have changed. So online is obviously the place to be right now. And that's where we started our journey about 5 years back. So from a very small number of orders a day to say about 1,200, 13 orders a day today, I think what's also made us realize is, one, there's been a whole attitude and orientation shift in the entire organization. From a B2B perspective, where you're dealing with lakhs and crores of orders at one stretch, to a 200 rupee order of a bowl or a glass set. So the orientation changed to say that, the 20 lakh order is important. So is the 200 rupee order, because one bad customer can actually influence so much for you, or can make or break things for you, right? So one, what we've really geared up in doing is a complete orientation shift in the entire organization. And when I say this, I say top to bottom, right from the
Yes.
somebody at the senior, it's like a whole drive down process that's happened, to somebody who's sitting in the warehouse and packing a 200 rupee glass product. I think the whole orientation is very, very different today to say that he is equally important. Secondly, what we've really done is we've invested in people and technology a lot. So we want the customers to come and get a unified experience, whether he buys from an online store, which is our website, whether he buys from an e-commerce, which is an Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, we sell all of those places, or whether he comes and buys from a retailer, who's like a local store around his area or locality. When he approaches the customer, when he approaches the particular person for an issue or a product related query, the experience we've tried and keep is very uniform. And we've invested a lot in terms of technology, right from automation to AI generative bots to all of that put together, to a whole cohesive experience in the different departments coming together and getting resolutions, with obviously customer service kind of leading the charge, obviously, because the customers we would be dealing with them, right? So I think orientation change and investment a lot in people and technology, I think that's really helped us kind of gear up for the current situation in the market.
Fantastic, fantastic. And that's really really great to hear. You talked about technology. So what technology changes are you making? Especially because sometimes the delivery of the customer experience lies a lot in the channel which you are adopting, right? Whether it is a channel which is like Amazon or Flipkart, etc., the e-commerce giants, or it is the local kirana store next to my home. How are you managing that the customer experience is uniform across the multiple channels he uses to buy your solutions? And how technology is playing an important role in this?
Right. So what we've done is that when I go to buy, right? So online is very simple. There are five, six processes, and you look at the product, you put it in the cart, and whether it's an Amazon, whether it's our website, we are very good in terms of we use the best of service providers and the best of the platform. When it comes to the retailer, our sales team works very closely with the retailer to be able to provide all the different range and variety of products that's available across other platforms. So that if the customer doesn't want to buy online and still go to a store and buy, he has the entire range of products available. So I think that is something we ensure very, very correctly and promptly. Secondly, the whole orientation with the retailer also to say, and obviously retailer also wants to sell his product and make money, right? So handling the customer then while he's making a purchase is not very difficult. What really comes into the picture is when he comes for a issue or a product related query. I think that's where the whole game changes for you, right? So what we very proactively try to do is, and what we educate our retailers also very primarily is we implemented a very intuitive and a very communicative generative AI developed chatbot, right? So when the customer wants to come and interact with me online, it's pretty simple. You either talk to me over a call, or you chat with me over a bot, and there's an agent support, and all of that is available. So we publish that information. It's there on the website. We educate the customer, guide them around it. But suppose if the customer wants to buy, he's bought it from a retailer. Suppose I bought a mixie from a retailer, and it kind of not working, or maybe my jar broke, something like that. When I go to the retailer stop, we very clearly inform the retailers. We've put QR code stickers there where we tell the retailer that you've sold the product. So now the service and all of that is not something that you need to worry about. You just need to educate the customer that here is the number for customer service, or more easier, here is this QR code, scan it, your bot opens. There's a very well defined process for registering a complaint that the customer can
Right,
do in
right.
3 or 4 easy steps, right? And those complaints are then channeled to the right service team, whether it's internal action that needs to be taken by the customer service team or our on field service team, depending upon the nature of the complaint. So what this really ensures us to do is a retailer dealing with a customer and maybe giving two different solutions to him, just telling him that, hey, here is technology, here is what you can do, and you don't have to wait for like 5, 6, and 7 days. Somebody will come and do this very quickly and immediately for you, maybe in 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours. So that's where the technology is playing a very, very important role for us, right? So we're diverting all our complaints either to the customer service contact center, but more importantly, we're diverting it to the chat, because the experience is very, very structured and very, very unified. And that I think is really helping. Our fallback on agents and our contact rates on other channels is reduced the moment we've kind of implemented this. And I think our dealers are pretty happy with the whole solution, and so are the customers.
Right, right, right. Uh, one question always comes to my mind when we are talking about customer service. Uh, there is one element to the customer experience delivery, which is customer service, and there is another element of the customer experience service, customer experience delivery, which is the entire value chain. Now, as a head of customer service, what role you think, or to what extent the customer service is defining customer experience as opposed to your marketing and sales efforts? What role as a customer service head do you think is the most defining thing in terms of delivering customer experience? And do you think that in an organization like Borosil, the CX initiative should be more driven by the people like who are the head of the customer service, or should be more driven by the people who are managing the technology delivery?
So I really don't think that you can separate the two, if you honestly ask me, because for me, customer service is the organization. It's not a department. It can never be a department, right? If the entire organization is not geared up to say that I want to deliver the best customer experience, and well, that's also our vision statement for Borosil, then I don't think the efforts of any one department are really going to help. What we essentially try and do in our organization is, because I'm at the forefront of customer experience and I kind of own that entire experience, right? So the driving force definitely is always going to be me and my team. But what essentially we've done within the organization is every team, whether it's technology, whether it's product, people who develop new products for the customers, whether it's after sales, whether it is the warehousing, logistics, all of them are very well attuned to the fact that anything that is raised by the customer or anything that comes from a customer, it is to be taken in a very proactive manner. Like I'll give you an example, right? There's a lot of social listening and a lot of information analysis that we do depending upon all the inputs that we get from customers, whether it's complaints, whether it's inputs on social media, all of that put together. And we've started implementing a monthly meeting that happens. So in that meeting, there's this whole presentation or this whole input and analysis that is driven by me to all the stakeholders internally to say that, these are the 5 key things for this month that the customer kind of highlighted multiple times. Maybe
Right,
it was a broken product which multiple customers got, or maybe a very small defect that multiple customers are talking about in a bottle, or even good things for that matter, right? That you've
right,
developed. Like for example, we just started delivering personalized stainless steel bottles to customers in the last 3 4 months. We started this whole project, right? So that's been received very well. So what we try and do is we give the positive as well as the negative. What this really helps the entire organization to do is, so one, obviously they're happy that some things are really working for them, and they kind of feel motivated. At the same time, these small nuances, these small inputs are also picked up, and we try and see what improvements we can do. And that is the core of developing some of our products also. Marketing also uses that for the communication. For example, we've started this QR code program a year and a half back, where you scan the QR code, wait for a manual warranty card, and you have to keep a manual warranty card. Now, the
right,
whole
right.
organization geared up for this to make it a success. So, marketing did their part of communicating various on various media platforms to the customer to say, we're running an offer like this, or maybe this is something that will benefit you if you start scanning the QR code and you start to kind of, getting the warranty card so that you don't have to keep a physical one. It got lost, whatever happened, whenever you
Yeah,
need a
right.
service next time, this card is going to be handy. And at the same time, the product team was very keen on implementing that QR code on their product boxes so that those could reach the customers. So what we
Right.
try and do is, obviously we don't succeed all the time and there's so much work that needs to happen. But I think our hearts and heads are in the right place and we know that we want to do the best for the customer. And
No,
another
I think you
thing, which is a
rightly.
very important example of customer orientation in my organization, is every single email that goes to my MD from the customer, right? Whatever issue it might be, at whatever hour of the day it might be, he is very clear about and he's very particular about sending those across to me or to the customer service team and ensuring that those are one taken care of, and two, also an update taken on what happened on those complaints. So you can imagine the seriousness you're talking about customer orientation here, right?
Which I think is really great because what you said and the kind of philosophy which you are talking, uh, I think it's as you rightly said, and that is what I wanted to understand, is not the responsibility of one person or one function. It is the sum total of everything. Um, but I think as a leader, a lot of responsibility lies on you to build the brand because you are taking it right. You are leading the CX and you are leading the CS, the customer service piece, which makes it very interesting for you. And
Yeah,
I
for
and
my
I very
organization, I am the voice of the customer. So anything
right.
related to the customer, it's kind of comes for me or towards me because,
Exactly,
and it's also
exactly.
see the worry. It also depends. Sometimes you say us a lot of things, but how serious are people on implementing that? That's also very important. So full credit to the entire teams and all the teams and people in the organization. Everybody's very geared up towards these things, right? Which makes my life a little bit easier and makes the customers a little more happier. So I think that really works for us.
Right, right. You mentioned in the beginning about the changing customer expectations and making it more challenging. As a professional, as a CX professional, what changes you have seen in the last 3 4 years? What role technology is playing? What changes? What expectations, impatient customer, or what kind of things you are changing or experiencing in this world And as a CX leader, how are you coping with it? Not just as a Borosil expert, but as a professional who's out there. How are you coping up with these changes?
I think it's an everyday input to yourself to say, one, what's happening in the industry, and two, to say what you can do better from what you were doing yesterday. So, a lot of process improvisation within the organization plus industry benchmarks. I mean, only what you are doing probably not be helpful, right? So, connecting with other CX leaders, seeing what's happening, also experiencing the whole customer journeys when you deal with other brands, like when I'm dealing with a Swiggy or a Mintra or an Amazon or maybe a smaller, lesser known brand, right? So
Correct.
what's it that they are doing, and maybe something that Borosil as a brand is not doing? Can I imbibe that? Can I kind of bring it into my whole ecosystem, right? So that's another learning that is very, very important. And technology is really changing. Like today everybody talks about AI, that's the buzzword. I mean, AI is really the buzzword. All the forums that you go to or all the discussions that you're talking about is all AI. But very interestingly, the moment you think that you've kind of implemented AI and you kind of on par with what's happening, there's something else that comes in. So I think it's a never ending loop. What really you need to think about is, in all of this, what really works for you as an organization, because obviously you're not going to be implementing everything and deploying everything, right? So I think the key is to be able to balance, to say, I have learned maybe 5 new things that are happening in the CX ecosystem, but do I need 5 or do I really need one to make my customer more happy and more connected to Borosil? And that's where I need to see what I really need to pick up and what I need to drop. Because doing everything is definitely not possible.
No, I think that's a wonderful thought. I completely agree because technology will continue to change. But as you said, how you prioritize, how you pick up that one single important thing which will keep your customers connected all the time, I think that will really make the difference. Uh, and automation, yes, that is happening, and as you rightly said, people are changing, things are moving. Uh, one another area which we feel especially becomes important in case of large organizations like Borosil, with a larger ecosystem of delivery of services, channels, multiple channels. What role does efficiency plays there? And when you are managing those operational costs and trying to already also manage the efficiency, how do you align your customer experience strategies with the operational objectives so that you can achieve both the efficiency gains as well as cost optimization?
Interestingly, and I think I should say that I'm lucky in that aspect, Borosil does not look at customer service as a cost imperative, right? Or as a cost center. What we've essentially trained ourselves in our orientation to be that, why cannot customer service be a channel of customer retention? You spend a lot of money on customer retention and marketing, right? I mean, everybody spends a lot of money in customer acquisition and retention when it comes to marketing. So essentially, the way we look at in our organization is customer service is a channel for customer retention. It's not a cost center. It's
Right.
not a center where customers will come, dish out their problems. We'll give them a temporary solution, or we'll just pick up the call or handle the chat and we'll be done with it. So we do not typically function like that, right? The objective is to give him a holistic solution the moment he comes to you. If you're not able to give him the solution at that point of time, then whether it takes the agent to speak to 10 different people within the organization or outside the organization, it's his individual responsibility to ensure that that case or the customer is taken care of. And there's a
Right.
closure that is provided, right? Sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it might take a while, but we ensure that the closure is provided. So, when we talk about efficiency, my training modules and the way I train my agents is also around the parameters of how effectively you're going to resolve the customer query, vis-a-vis to say how many calls did you take today or how many chats did you handle. That's
Right.
that's not the game I am in. I mean, I really don't believe in kind of looking at those numbers. Yes, costs are important, I understand. And honestly, with the kind of automation that we've done with multiple softwares and applications that we use, right, we actually manage a lot of volume with very little, very limited resources. So essentially, we've kept our costs in check. But at any point of time when I want to deploy a new technology or anything that is going to help the customer, right? I think because the orientation is so clear to say that it's not a cost center and it's a customer acquisition team or customer retention team, as I would like to call it, it becomes way easier to implement and then also manage and also train your agents, right? As I was mentioning earlier, the orientation is very clear that you need resolutions with a way to say, did you answer 100 calls and did you answer 100 chats? That's not the orientation. So the moment that shift in the mindset happens, right, efficiencies automatically build up.
Right.
And that
No,
also helps you
I
to
think
manage
I
costs.
completely agree with the fact that if organizations start looking at CS not as a cost center, but as a customer retention and therefore maybe a revenue earning tool, then it changes the whole thought process. It changes the whole
I
philosophy.
very proudly tell my team, right, that whatever revenue you make, at least on the online space, part of it is coming from customer service.
Right.
Because we handle the customers in such a way. Obviously, we have a long way to go and it's work in progress and it's a never ending activity, right? But I really very proudly tell the digital team that, a part of your revenue is customer service because we are actually dealing with customers in such a way that we have repeat customers, we have loyal customers. Even if they faced obstacles in the first order, they will come back because the way we treat them and the way we resolve issues for them is kind of, with the wholeheartedness to say that you've come to me, I want you to be happy.
Right. Right.
I think,
So,
that's the objective.
all right. As a as someone who's championing CX for a brand as popular and as respectable as Borosil, right? Uh, what do you think is your biggest challenge when you get into an office and you start thinking about your customers, your team, and delivery? What is the top challenge in your mind as a custodian of this brand?
I think what so challenges, of course, are quite a bit, with the changing trends and all of that. But I think, as you rightly said, it's a very trusted and a very prominent brand in the minds of people who've been using this for years. But I think what I would not say really a challenge, but that something is a work in progress for all of us, is how the current generation or the millennial or the Gen Z also associates and feels pride in Borosil or in having a Borosil product the way the earlier generation used to.
Right.
Borosil there used to be a status symbol. I mean, we've all grown up seeing Borosil products, right? And because the Gen Z and the millennials today are very different in their thought process, their orientation, how they look at brands, how they perceive brands, right? So I think one of the efforts or one of the ways we want to improvise here is to say how Borosil can be the first recall brand for them when they're looking at a consumer product or anything that they want to buy for their home. So I think that's work in progress because, as I said, mindsets are different. The way they buy is very different. The way they perceive brands is very different. So how do we gear ourselves both in terms of product offerings, marketing, as well as dealing with the customers when they come to the customer support team? So I think that's something we all are working towards.
Right, right. No, I personally feel that the next decade is for the CX professionals because CX is going to be the biggest factor in establishing brand in repeat business and as a revenue generator. I
Mm.
look at it from that perspective. Uh, as a CX leader, what would be your three mantras or two mantras for the aspiring CX leaders of today?
I think one, keep it human. So, everybody talks so much about technology today, but I really very, very genuinely believe, right, there can never be customer service without human empathy. So you can have all the bots and all the voice bots and everybody who's dealing with your customers, but with the human, whatever in whatever context form, right? Till there's no touch of human empathy, whether you build it in your systems or whether you build, kind of inculcate it into your people. I think there can never be CX without human intervention and human empathy. So
Right.
definitely be human. Secondly, I think keep it very simple. We try to do a lot of complex algorithms around, okay, maybe I can do this flow for the customer and this. The customer, one, does not have time, two, does not have patience today. So keep it as simple as possible. And the third, I think, would be whenever you're dealing with the customer, keep yourself in his shoes and think, if you got this answer, would you be happy?
Right, right. Wonderful. Those three are really great. And I always feel that whatever technology may come, AI or whatever chatbots or whatever, they cannot replace the human empathy. And that I think scores right on top. And when you are delivering
Absolutely,
a
absolutely.
CX, superior CX for the customers. Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate and loved enjoying speaking to you and learning about how Borosil is transforming customer experience and how you are spearheading that change at Borosil. Thank you so much for your time.